Welcome to another insightful debate from Right for Education Africa. Across many African communities, the pursuit of justice has often taken two paths. One led by the rule of law, and another driven by the urgent emotions of the crowd, known as mob justice.
Mob justice, though fueled by frustration, fear, or lack of trust in the justice system, often leads to violence, wrongful punishment, and deeper insecurity. On the other hand, legal justice offers structure, fairness, and accountability. Yet it sometimes struggles with delays, corruption, or limited access, causing communities to feel unheard or unprotected.
This debate explores a crucial question. How can communities and the law work together to create a safer, fairer society? What role does education, dialogue, policing, and community trust play in reducing mob justice? And how can legal systems be strengthened to serve people more effectively?
Join us as we dive into the perspectives, tensions, and possible solutions for building a justice system that protects everyone. That is, understanding mob justice and legal justice, how communities and the law can work together for safety.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Red Debates, where we dive into real African stories, real issues, and real conversations. Here, we unpack the topics that shape our continent, challenge our perspectives, and celebrate the diverse voices that make Africa so powerful. So grab something to drink, settle in, and let's get into it because we are in for a real good topic. So this week, we are exploring a topic that affects many neighborhoods across our countries and across the continent. We see this happen all over the news. It happens and we see it on our news, on our social media pages. So that's what we are going to talk about. The topic is understanding mob justice versus legal justice. How communities and the law can work together for safety. So around the continent, communities sometimes take action into their own hands when they feel unsafe or unheard. This happens when, let's say, the police, the law enforcement is taking their time in catching a criminal. And now, or it can be in a case of the community members telling the law enforcement, here's the person, this is the person who did it, but they're dragging their feet, they're taking the time. They're not taking it seriously or as urgently as possible. So then the community decides, okay, you know what, since you're taking your time, we will do it for you because you're not taking us seriously. Here's the perpetrator. Do something about it. So, but do we know the difference between legal justice and mob justice? So, brief explanation. A mob justice happens when community members take the law into their own hands, usually punishing someone accused of a crime without involving the law enforcement and the court. Legal justice, on the other hand, follows typical justice procedures such as investigations, evidence, trials, sentencing, etc., etc. But now these two justices clash because now the community has this thing of, yeah, we got the person, but is it the right person? So overall, mob justice has mixed reactions, mixed perspectives on this. But what does it mean in general? What does it mean for human rights, fairness, and long-term safety? So that is the topic that we're going to unpack for today. Please, when you are ready, let us get into this. What are your thoughts on this? How maybe an experience of mob justice, have you seen it? What were the outcomes? Is it good? Is it bad? And what are the overall, what can be done to mix community justice with legal justice? So that is the topic for today. The floor is all yours. So whoever would like to get us going, you can start.
I was saying that I think that both methods actually work depending on the circumstances which they are in. For example, mob justice wouldn't happen if the legal system was working right. So I think that although mob justice does have its own perils, perhaps maybe if done right, where the community perhaps maybe catches these perpetrators and then hand them over to the police, for example, or the legal system. That I don't know which it could be, but yeah, generally it's the police at first. So if they could actually catch these perpetrators, hand them over to the police and have the police do their investigation, then things would be okay. Instead of actually the mob handling the situation with violence and inciting violence and stuff, because you could find that you're actually hurting a very innocent person in the whole process. People tend to get out of hand when they do all of this mob justice, that you find that even a bystander could end up being hurt, could end up being killed. For example, people have died so many times. We have heard in the news all over the continent where people have died because the community is so fed up that they start to take things or matters into their own hands, because somehow they are being failed by the legal system. And I think that perhaps maybe we could try and collaborate as the community and the legal system to try and curb all of the misgivings that come with mob justice. If perhaps maybe the police or the legal system could actually give us updates as to, this is the case and this is what's happening, this is what our investigation is leading us into, and this is what we found out. Maybe perhaps we would, as the community, we would feel seen, we would feel heard, we would feel that we are not being ignored by the legal system, because half the time we take matters into our own hands when we feel that there's nothing that is being done. But most of the time you find that the legal system is actually doing something, but they just don't give updates and give us basically what is happening with cases and stuff. So I am not for mob justice, but I am for a collaborative effort on both sides of the community and the legal system as well, working together. You could have the police and the community working together by having like watch groups. I don't know what they're called, but yeah, community watch groups or something, WhatsApp groups where you communicate everything that is happening instead of taking matters into your own hands. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And that is true. That is true. Some of these law enforcement communication, there's no communication between community members. Either they don't give communication or there's little communication, and then that will make community members restless. I think that's the word, restless. Like, and then what's going on? Why isn't anything done? Why are you taking your time? But they are doing their job. It's just whatever they may have, then it's taking time and its communication is delayed. So, but yeah, I agree with you with that. The communities and the law enforcement should work together and form watch groups. Yeah, I also forgot the name of that, but yeah, they should also form watch groups. Yeah. Randy?
Thank you, Spiwe. Thank you, everyone, for this opportunity to join this debate. So I wholly and totally agree with what Kgaolate said. Basically, mob justice is a consequence of the distrust that is developed with regards to the legal system. We don't normally trust our legal system because of the response times and how they manage anything associated with crime, especially when people report and people are consistent in reporting the crimes that happen that actually lead to mob justice. So I think mob justice is a build-up of all that has been going on and all those reports and that awareness that they're trying to bring to the legal system that this is happening and nothing is being done about it. So basically, mob justice is a symptom of systemic distrust and not really a sustainable solution. Because at the end of the day, it threatens that rule of law, because there's a reason why legal justice is established, or systems that support legal justice are established. So that risks punishing innocent people in the process, as Kgaolate stated. And it also produces irreversible consequences and also distrust, or causes further distrust within communities, not only amongst the community and the legal system, but within the communities themselves. So no one is trusting anyone because of the consequences of mob justice and the results that it brings. So in the end, regardless of how our legal systems find themselves, or whatever situation they find themselves in, they're there to provide structured processes, which include investigation, evidence, fair trial, and the right to defense. And they also protect everyone, which includes the victims, the suspects, and the community as a whole. So that would be a great partnership between the community and the legal system, in the sense that the communities could report crimes, they could participate in community safety committees, as Khaulate suggested, creating WhatsApp groups, since WhatsApp is what everyone has, and identifying suspects without any use of violence, and preserving evidence, and challenging police through civic channels. And what the governments could do to support the legal system would be to improve police response times, which is a major problem in African communities, and train officers or police officers in community engagement, which is another issue, because our police officers, most of them do not know how to engage with the community, which creates that hostility between them. And to also strengthen the local courts and local justice systems that are needed to be able to bring order to the community. Thank you.
Yes, very, very important points made there. And then I just want to get to this question that, since you, like Khaulate and Randy, you spoke kind of similar things, and it got me wondering, why would the community turn to mob justice in the first place? Like, what could be the causes of this? So we all know that so far we see that it's delays in the whole process and catching the criminal, blah blah blah. But what else could be the reason why communities resort to mob justice? Yeah, let's go with Mawa, then Luandi.
So just a quick answer to your question, Sifawi, could be impatience. Like, people want to get the problem solved as soon as possible. And in order to do that, maybe some people are going to be hurt in the process. And, to extend this answer, I think we should focus on two major reasons that make, depending on mob justice a little bit risky. Like, number one, impartiality. Number two, objectivity. Like, we cannot say that it is 100% impartial. And this is somehow connected to training. Like, if we're talking about mob justice, are these people really qualified to do that? Like, if we're talking about, like usual justice, if we're talking about, the police system, for example, the court, the prison system, they are really qualified to do whatever they have to do, and they are trained in the process. But if you're talking about mob justice, who are the people that we're talking about? Are we talking about maybe some casual leaders in the community? What about their background? What about their educational, system that they've been through? What about, their even belief system? So you cannot control it. And communities are different. They differ from one another. Like, maybe you have urban, maybe you have rural, maybe you have, lots of varieties in the society. So how can you control it? Sometimes it's going to be out of control. And out of all chaos, you get impartiality. Like, you cannot say they are not going to be biased, that they're not going to be, led by their feelings. Maybe they're going to, misled by appearances or maybe social standing. So you cannot say that they're going to be objective 100%. On the other hand, what we're looking for is objectivity, because simply justice is blind. This is the justice that we're looking for. You don't care about who are the people that you are, looking into their situation. You only care about justice. So you cannot guarantee that if we're just depending on people, because people are people, but we need qualified people. So number one, their education system, I mean their educational background, Are they trained in the law system? Because law is law. Like if we're talking about, people who go to law schools and study maybe for 4 years in some countries, they spend their whole life working on different cases, getting trained in order to know how to handle the situation with the defendant, with the plaintiff, making sure that every one of them gets their full right no matter what. Also putting lots of, humanitarian situation into consideration. So if you're talking about mob system, this is going to be a little bit risky because they want to overlook all of that and get to solve the problem, because sometimes they are under the pressure of the community, because they are in the middle of the people, so they are under the pressure of the people. But if you're talking about, the regular system, the regular justice system, they're taking it from a far point of view, so they're not falling under the pressure and the temptation of the community. So, in my opinion, in order to get this problem solved, simply we can pick people. I mean, out of the community that we think are qualified, they can go through some kind of preparation process, and they can receive the education and all the preparation that they need to go through in order to make sure that those people are really able to, make the system really work. Number two, after that, they can go through some kind of probation process in order to make sure that they're going to follow it, and they can work hand in hand with the regular legal system in order to maybe help with the investigation, get some problem solved. Because you know what, when we're talking about situations, we're talking a variety of situations. Like this starts from working on a shoplifting case to murder cases. So we have lots of varieties in there. So you cannot expect this system to make everything working really fast if we're working on a shoplifting case versus a murder case. Like every case it has its own circumstances, its own evidence. Maybe sometimes you have lots of complications, and you have to make sure that you're putting the right person in the right place, because you know what, someone's life is on the stake now. So you cannot jeopardize their lives just thinking that you are putting the person in prison and thinking that the case is solved. But meanwhile, maybe you're destroying a life, you're destroying a community, you're destroying a family, because those people have families, they have kids. So you cannot go to bed at night thinking that you have fulfilled justice while maybe you've got an innocent person. So in brief, training, making sure that they are going
Okay.
to be unbiased no matter what. Thank you.
Okay, true. Education, and especially when it comes to the actual case. Just imagine the horror of doing a mob justice on the wrong person. Just imagine the sheer brutality and horror about that. So with the mob justice, I think the way I see it, it's like a temporary solution to a permanent problem, because you're not fixing the problem. I think you're making it worse. With mob justice, you're making it worse. So I think, but I'm not saying mob justice is good. It's not. I think education is very important. Yes, Mao, you're definitely right. Education and training is very important, so that if the police can do their job, at least let us do maybe a little bit of your job, but like let's meet you halfway or something like that, So that's it. Rwandi, on you. It's on you now. And then after Rwandi is Haulati.
Thank you, Spiwe. Back to your question of why mob justice happens. Most of the time, mob justice happens because of there are various factors involved when it comes to mob justice. Sometimes it's due to distrust of the justice system, but sometimes it's a temporary solution if done right. I'm not for mob justice, but sometimes it's a need because, for example, where I live very far from the nearest police station, and there have been cases where they've caught perpetrators. No violence happened, thankfully, but there have been cases where they caught the perpetrators and were able to take the perpetrators to the nearest police station and have the issue solved. So mob justice could be something temporary, especially in these instances. So that's another factor. But most of the times, if we're to look at all these news stories that we accompany, mob justice is as a result of that hostility between the police and the community. I'm not sure about other communities, but here in my actual community here in Mozambique, there has been a bit of that distrust because of those manifestations that happened last year, almost around this time last year. So there's not that trust between the police and the community. So I think that those are the two factors I can provide of why mob justice happens. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, definitely. I think one of the patterns that I see on my side in South Africa is lack of trust, lack of accountability. Yeah, like we don't trust you, we don't like you. There's that thing of when you see a police, like the law enforcement pass by, you just have that anger, and then anger, this mistrust, like, oh my gosh, these guys, there's that thing going on, especially in communities. And another thing that I want to add is anger. Like we are so angry. We're so angry with the police in some way, because we like we have that anger of we don't want the police anyway. And when they do their job, we're like, and you only doing this now, kind of attitude. So yeah, you're definitely right. Lack of trust. There's a lack of trust there. Yeah. Halate and then Tebucho.
All right. Thank you so much. I also wanted to get in on the reasons why sometimes communities would lose patience with the legal system. I think that what I've seen so far happening is that sometimes these cases, if they are reported to the legal system, they drag for months and for years. There are so many cases that we know of right now where people were murdered, and the court cases they will go on. They will go to court for like a month, and then from there you skip a whole year before the next sitting. So all of that, it's frustrating, and you find that there's a lot of corruption within the legal system. There are lots of bribes. There's lost evidence. The police, not let me not say the police, like the law enforcement, the charges, they can disappear mysteriously. I don't know what those things are called, dockets and stuff. I've heard of the word dockets. Yeah, I think Tebogo will help me with this one. He knows better. So all of that can actually make the community quite desperate. And when the community is desperate, I don't think the word is anger there. I think it's desperation. When they are desperate, they want to see justice being done, and then it is things like that keep on happening. Witnesses are intimidated. Even the victims, they report the case, and then that's it. Everything is written down on paper. There's no protection. There's no counseling. There's no they don't go back and look at the victim and see how the victim is faring after all of this is happening. And all of that really creates a desperation within the community. Even like very educated people, very learned people, once you are put in a corner, you have to react somehow. And this is how families and communities feel when one of them or their loved one has been, a crime has been committed against them. So honestly, if you are going to catch a criminal, send them to the police, and then this criminal is out on bail in 2 weeks. It gives the community the feeling that the system protects the criminals instead of the victims. So instead of like waiting on the system to carry on with what they are doing, because I'm sure they are doing something in the background there, but because of all of these other things, corruption, and perhaps maybe I don't know what, maybe lack of resources, because like in African countries, you can find that a police station has 1 car or 2 cars, and they're getting reports, like as we are going into festive season now, there'll be 20-30 reports in one night, and they're under-resourced as it is. So you find that the community feels like, okay, we're in a desperate time here, let us take matters into our own hands. So honestly, it's a two-sided sword. If you look at it from the community's perspective, there is a bit of desperation there. If you look at it from the law enforcement agencies, they are under-resourced in the African context. So it's not it's a systemic failure that puts the community in a very dangerous position of taking things into their own hands. So yeah, I think that's what one of the reasons why mob justice ends up taking place, even though we don't want it to happen. I mean, like, I could possibly find myself throwing in a stone one day because I'm feeling angry and I'm feeling desperate because something is not being done as to how I want it. I want super swift, super fast things, super fast reactions, and it doesn't work like that with the legal system. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Okay, yeah, that definitely true, definitely. Especially when the bail hearing, for example, is very, it's like it's fast. Like, how did this happen? Wasn't he supposed to stay in jail? And then that leads to panic because now the community is like, okay, so now this guy is on bail. Are we safe? Uh, why is he in bail? Why does he have bail? What is going on? So under-resourced, anger, frustration, desperation, all those things can lead to mob justice. And like it's a point where communities are just fed up. They're just, you know what, you guys are taking your time. We're gonna do this for you. Then the community does it for them. It's not really, the outcome is not really that good, or like that's not supposed to happen. So then, yeah, that's why the community members, probably why, it's like, that's why the community members are like, you know what, we're gonna do this ourselves because it's clear that you can't. So yeah. Tebogo, yes.
Hello, everyone. I think it's very
Hey.
I think it's very interesting that I'm a police officer and I have to comment and give my 2 cents. So basically, I think the causes or the reasons why sometimes people uh, resort to mob justice maybe because of social stress. For example, poverty and unemployment, social inequality, they create tension within communities. And then any small crime triggers big reactions because societies are already stressed out. And then that's the perpetrators or the perpetrators of crime, they become the victims of society's frustration. So social stress could be one of the triggers. Lack of awareness of legal processes, and people don't fully understand how the justice system works. The rights of the victims, the rights of the accused or the suspects. Remember, both have rights. So we tend to focus on the rights of the victims. We forget that even the accused, the suspects, they also have rights as well, because innocent until proven guilty. Even if proven guilty, they still have to be treated like with human dignity or with human decency. Like, violence is not condoned at all. What in both in a lot of nations, also at international law. And then also another reason could be weak community structures. If community leaders, wardens, chiefs, or neighborhood watch groups are inactive or powerless, there's no organized system to handle minor or urgent crimes peacefully. Because of the weakness in the community structures, the community will then tend to resort to take the matters into their own hands and resort to community justice, because the community watch groups are not effective or they are weak in essence. Another reason could be repeated offenses. If there's a repeat offender terrorizing or stealing in communities or harassing communities, and they always escape, people will eventually feel fed up and resort to mob justice being the only deterrent left. This again goes hand in hand with increasing crimes. If crime is increasing, like theft, robbery, and assault, when it is frequent, people become desperate. The anger builds up over time, and any suspected criminal becomes a target for the community's accumulated frustration. The last one that I want to look at is crowd psychology or group mentality. In a crowd, people feel anonymous, less responsible, and are supported by a group. People may act violently in a mob, even though they would ordinarily never do so alone. So thank you so much. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that those points made are really, really good. And it does happen actually, and when someone throws a stone, we all go. When one does it, it's like that thing, monkey see, monkey do. If one does it, we all go for it, especially in the location areas, like in the community areas. So, and then when the real police arrives, we run away. We're like, nope, I don't know you. Nope, I don't know you. And that becomes a thing. So with regards to that, here's another question for you guys to think about. Do you think that mob justice actually makes the community safer? For example, let's say there's this person in the community who is continuously making community members feel unsafe. So now it can be anything. It can be corporal punishment or just whatever the case may be. And then by doing that, it might it might make the community more, I guess, safer, or maybe like, okay, now we have instilled discipline, something like that. But does it really work in that context? Does it really work? Does mob justice really make a community safer? So like with disciplining, that's the thing. With disciplining the criminal so that the criminal doesn't do it again, or kind of maybe protecting this criminal in whatever way possible so that the criminal doesn't go to prison or whatever. So that is the question that I want to share with you all. Do you think mob justice actually makes our communities safer? Does it instill discipline in the criminal? Does it make the community safer, or does it make it worse? Because now the community is unsafe amongst each other, and it's to the point where the police cannot intervene or something like that. So that is my question to you all. Hello, anyone? Okay, repeat. Yes. Hello, Godfrey?
Yes, thank you for that question. I think there is something called sanctity of life. Life is sanctified, and it is very important to preserve life. And there's always a chance. The rule of law is very important and takes care of that. So I don't think for any community whatsoever that there is justice in lynching somebody, killing somebody. It only it makes the community even more deteriorated, and the respect to life, looking at life as a human being, is compromised. So I think the best way to do in whatever community that let the law take its course and make sure that every community member knows that if there is even if it's somebody who's really a bother to the community, that is handed over to the authorities, and the rule of law takes its course. It will not really help at all. That's for me.
True. Yes, definitely. So what you're saying, yeah, it makes sense actually. Kind of like we don't want to end your life. We just want to discipline you in a way, like we don't want your life to end. Let the law take its own course, but don't do that again. So in a way, we're trying to instill discipline, like don't do that again, kind of mentality. You must still live, everyone has a right to life. You must still live, but don't do that again. If you do, then we're going to instill discipline on you, something like that. So yeah, thank you. Yes, Khalate.
I personally don't think mob justice makes our community safer at all. I just think it instills a lot of fear in the community. It instills, it breaks down the communication bridge between the community and the law enforcement. Because I'm thinking of a situation right now where the gangs are fighting against the taxis and all of that, all of that makes it very unsafe for the community, because they're, instead of reporting issues, they're trying to take matters into their own hands, especially when it's like something that is a syndicate of some sort, where now it's them fighting against themselves, because they are not trying to report anything to the police. They make the whole community very unsafe, and it basically deteriorates the whole system altogether. So I just think mob justice should not happen at all, no matter what the situation, because at the end of the day, um, you you're hurting people who are innocent in the process. You might think you have the right guy, or maybe you might have the right guy, but the consequences of harming that person and the process of harming that person, it the roots of it, they go far and wide, with not just that one particular instance where you are harming the person or trying to drag. I mean, fine, the community can go and drag you to the police, but without any violence. That's where now the community comes in, without violence. You go in, you take this person and you take them to the police if the police are looking for that person. If there's like a wanted smama out there, then what they do is they should go and get them. The problem now is, in situations like that, you will find that people don't talk. The community stops talking because they're afraid. They say snitches get stitches. So at the end of the day, the community is just wholly unsafe because of mob justice. I don't think mob justice is okay. Thank you.
Yeah, true. Thank you. Thank you for your points. And it's and to add on your point, like I said when we started, the the mob justice thing is a temporary solution to a permanent problem, you know. Sure, you have maybe fixed the problem, but then you what if this person is wrong? Because now you not only affected this alleged criminal, but you also affected the family. Like, you know, it's not only this person you have to deal with, it's also the person's family. It goes deeper, you know, it goes deeper. So mob justice in general, again, for me, it is not good at all. It's just like you're making the situation even worse now. Yeah. So let's go to Kelly and then we'll go to Luandi. Okay. Let's go to Luandi then. Oh,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. On this particular issue, I would love to start by sharing something that we experienced in my country, Zambia, Shilabombo to be specific, where a man was brutally beaten up and murdered by a group of people, and they thought they were actually enacting the mob justice, just to find out later that this person was actually innocent. What I'm trying to incite right now is that mob justice is not a solution to anything, and mob justice should not be tolerated in our country or in our continent or anywhere on earth, because it is quite violent, one, and inhuman for us to act. It is quite inhuman for people to start beating other people without even having full evidence, even if they had full evidence to the fact that these people have committed a particular crime. This is why we do have the law enforcers. So what are we telling the law enforcers if we are taking justice into our own very hands? This is why those people are trained psychologically, of course, physically, of course, and they know what to do and what not to do. But the people, if it's going to be mob justice, then the people are just going to do what they think is right to that person. And as the previous speaker said, it's going to be scary in a community where our young children are coming up, being raised, and they're seeing such matters um, where people are violently beating other people, or as they say, enacting what's this, the justice. So honestly speaking, I think it's so inhuman, and it shouldn't be tolerated in our country, in our continent, on earth, anywhere, because this stains our sanity, it stains our purity, and it stains the cultural values of our people. Thank you.
All right, thank you. A very tragic story there. Eh? That's my personal fear when it comes to mob justice. Like that is my personal fear. Imagine doing that to the wrong person. Forget the right person. Imagine doing that to the wrong person. It's inhumane and it's wrong. It's such a tragic thing to think about. So yeah, thank you for sharing. Um, okay, so Halate in the chat box noted, while battering this supposed criminal, their young child is watching, and that builds a damaged adult who is vengeful and doesn't trust anyone. Their parent might be guilty, but the effect of the mob justice far outweighs the temporal solution. Exactly. Exactly. Like, good point made. It not only affects this supposed criminal, it also affects the family. It goes deeper than this, you know. And oh, these kids, they're like, you know, wherever there's a mob or a group of people, kids would eventually go to that group and see what is going on. And then just imagine the horror you see in your own family member being brutally attacked like that. It is horrible. It's very, yeah, not something you want to see. So yeah, let's go to Luandi and then Tebogo.
Thank you, Spiwe. So basically, mob justice may create a momentary sense of unity, but then, newsflash, it is not real unity and it does not build healthy communities. And that brings me back to what Tebogo said about that group thinking mentality, whereby, you know, that unity is temporary because they are acting or gathering quickly around a shared anger or fear, you know, and they feel like they're acting as one to protect the community. But in that sense, that unity is temporary and it's based on emotion, which is something that is not as, that's not always consistent. So at the end, it's not real cooperation. And mob justice does not bring communities together. It's just that momentary feeling that happens. You know, it further creates fear amongst the community. Innocent people can get hurt, as Kelly outlined about this guy that was lynched in his community. It promotes violence as normal. What will our children think? You know, not only the affected, as Kholati stated, but also the children that see that and they think, okay, so this is the solution. You know, they no longer trust the law enforcement. They no longer act accordingly because they think that mob justice is the solution. So yeah, I think mob justice does not bring communities together. It further divides them and it further creates that fear amongst people and that distrust as well. So yeah, it may create that brief feeling of unity, but it ultimately divides communities. It increases fear and it also damages that long-term safety that we're trying to fight for through the legal justice system. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Very true, very true. Because and now the kids see this and they grow up with this thinking that it's normal, but it's not. Not. And I feel bad for these kids because they see everything that's going on and like they want to imitate that, you know. So growing up for these kids is just going to be bad, and mob justice is not the way. Okay, let's go to Tebogo and then we do final concluding thoughts.
Hi, it's me again. So I just want to say, people view that, okay, no, fine. They believe that mob justice is a deterrent, but in moments of anger and frustration, it makes communities far more dangerous and unstable and even fearful. Because people believe that justice is a deterrent, but according to research, violence does not stop crime. It multiplies it. Criminals, they adapt, they become more aggressive, and they target communities in new ways. That's the research that has been done. So it turns out that mob justice escalates instead of prevents crimes because there'll be more mobs that are forming property gets destroyed in the way, innocent bystanders get hurt, retaliation increases even from the criminals themselves. This makes the area of our communities less safe in the long run. In the long term, mob justice undermines human rights and it undermines the rule of law. Instead of laws, fairness, and order and predictable processes, mob justice replaces all of this with chaos. And without rule of law, crime thrives, I would also like to say it destroys trust in the justice system. When people take the law into their own hands, witnesses they stop reporting crimes properly, the police struggle to do their job, communities stop cooperating with the investigators and the police, and this breakdown of trust makes crime decrease. Sorry, it makes crime increase rather than decrease. So basically, mob justice encourages more violence, encourages violence. So community normalizes violence as a way of solving problems, and it becomes easier for violence to repeat itself. This leads to revenge attacks, more brutality, a culture of fear. Then violence grows instead of reducing. So basically, mob justice makes communities worse rather than safer. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, definitely. Because now the community lives in fear, it lives in unease, they panic. Just imagine turning a corner, now you start to panic. It's that sort of thing. So yeah, good sentiments there. Okay, so now we have come to the point where we do concluding statements. So now, with all of what was discussed, what is a solution? What can be possible solutions? How can the community work together with the police? How can the community build safer neighborhoods without violence, without these brutal attacks? What, stuff like that. What could be a way forward for communities and the law enforcement to work together for the betterment of life, for society, and fairness and justice, so that no one so that the community doesn't descend into chaos? Yeah. Kelly's hand was raised first, and then Khaulate, and then Rwandi. Okay, let's go to Khaulate then.
Okay, thank you so much. I just want to say in conclusion, after all of this, that mob justice is not a sign of a strong community. It just shows that the community is frustrated, it is fearful, and there's a big failing relationship between them and the justice system. So what I think could happen then for long-term security, communities and perhaps the legal system, law enforcement, they must stand together and not in opposition. There must be that trust that, okay, once we report this is what's going to happen. It might not happen now, but it will happen. The police must be more responsive as well. Investigations must be stronger, and there should be stakeholder engagements. They should let the people know this is what we are doing, this is what we've been up to. The courts must be more efficient as well. At the same time, communities must also engage in lawful, constructive forms of crime prevention, because when they lynch a person, they are also committing crimes which they are trying to stop at the end of the day. You're trying to stop a criminal by being a criminal yourself. So that is not constructive at all. So real safety is basically created when justice is fair, it's transparent, and it is trusted. So if you take it by force, then it is not justice. So I think we should not replace the rule of law with mob action. So we want a safer community. We must build a future where safety is reliable, and then we trust the justice system that is in front of us, and everybody's rights are respected. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good points made there. Luandi, on your side.
Right. Thank you, Spiwe. So in final or in conclusion to this, so I think that to resolve mob justice, I think both communities and legal systems must work together. First, to rebuild that trust, then followed by speeding up the justice and also creating safer environments. So to strengthen that trust, I think there should be an improvement of police response times, and training of officers on on respectful community engagement, and to reduce the corruption that happens within most policing departments, and to ensure that there's discipline and no misuse of authority, and to also increase that visibility of police in high-risk areas that are known for mob justice or anything associated with mob justice, and also to create accessible local justice mechanisms. In Mozambique, we have what we call chefes de quarteirão, which is block chiefs. In that case, every area has one, and mostly when something happens or when a thief is caught or anything, they go to those people and they present the thief, and that's when they involve law enforcement. So that also, relieves that pressure that, the policing departments have to deal with in terms of, petty crimes and all that. And also to strengthen community policing, in the sense that, community policing builds that bridge between police and residents, making safety a shared responsibility instead of a one-sided responsibility. And also public education and awareness campaigns. I think education could really relieve a lot of that distrust as well, because people need to know the consequences of mob justice, and they also need to know how they can handle any issue that they encounter when it comes to petty crimes or whatever crime that they encounter as a community, without necessarily involving violence and letting things go further. So these are my thoughts on how the community and the legal system can collaborate. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's go to Kelly, your thoughts, and then we're gonna go to Deboho.
Thank you very much for the time. I think we need to understand what justice means. Justice means punishing the guilty the right way. And since we're talking of the loss of trust amongst or between the community members and the law enforcement, I think we need to look into, I think, two things at this point: accountability and transparency, then also having pressure groups and or other civil societies that can be pushing for the accountability and transparency that as to matters that are happening within the law enforcement segment. So if we build pressure groups, or rather if there are people to pressure, asking for the accountability and transparency of how they're operating and how they're handling certain matters, I believe the community would therefore be pleased, and that would restore the trust that was lost, if it was that was lost before. I think that is the way to go. That's my submission. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lastly, Deboho.
Okay. So my take on this is that there should be rapid conflict intervention teams. There should be trained teams that can be deployed quickly to disperse angry crowds, rescue suspected offenders, calm tensions, provide information if the mob justice is a result of misinformation or speculation. The crisis intervention may actually save lives. Use of technology to document incidents, CCTV, body cameras, and community phone footage can help identify real criminals, deter mob behavior, help the police build stronger cases, because technology brings evidence and it reduces chaos. Clear laws and strict punishment for mob leaders. Governments must enforce laws against mob assault and mob murder that's a result of mob justice, and malicious damage to property as well, because when people see consequences, they are less likely to join mobs. There should be restorative justice programs for minor offenses, where offenders meet victims to discuss the harm and restore relationships. It helps communities feel heard and brings resolution without violence. Increase police accountability measures. People tend to mob justice when they feel police protect criminals or accept bribes. So the solutions include disciplinary action for misconduct, stronger oversight bodies, transparent investigations, and community feedback systems. Because when credibility improves, mob justice declines. I would also like to talk about establishing local crime reporting systems such as anonymous hotlines, WhatsApp community groups, or channels where people are allowed to report crimes instead of reacting violently. Yeah. And then strengthening traditional leadership structures, the chiefs, the elders, and the local leaders, they can help calm crowds, mediate conflicts, clarify misunderstandings, and encourage formal reporting of incidents. Because using traditional leadership alongside formal law helps resolve tensions peacefully. Community policing initiatives. If we build strong relationships between the police and the community, this encourages cooperation, trust, early reporting of crimes, and peaceful problem solving, because community policing allows both sides to work together instead of against each other. And then lastly, I'd like to say strengthening police presence. I think somebody already mentioned this, but I'd like to say many mobs form because people feel that police take too long to arrive. So we should improve patrol visibility, emergency response, and accessibility, because I think Harriet is the one who said, yeah, where she stays, she's far from a policing area. So it helps restore confidence and reduces the urge to take the law into our own hands. Thank you. That is my submission as well.
Okay, thank you, Tebu. Good points made all around. Okay, so Halate, lastly, she says in the chat box, she says, law enforcement officers must be paid more so they do their jobs better. They are sluggish because they are balancing the money with the work. In a way, true, because now in some cases, some communities, that is true, because some police officers are not paid well, so they have that attitude of, why must I do my job, so if we work on that, then I think the mob justice will decrease. So for me, on my side, to close off, I think communication and speediness of trials, of gathering evidence. Because I think some of our law enforcement, they take their time. Or they do not communicate updates of what's going on with the case. So if there is more communication with regards to that, then the community will have like a trust amongst the police that, okay, let us relax, let the police do their job, Then also fair trial, there should be a fair trial for everyone, and even the suspected perpetrator. It should be a fair trial, and also in a way, I know this sounds crazy, but also in a way, this criminal must also be protected. Then the criminal must also have a fair trial. Remember, there's a right, everyone has the right to a fair trial, and they're innocent until proven guilty. So if we do that, then that is also fine. And also, for me, I think communities should refrain from doing mob justice, because it is, in general, it is not a good thing. I repeat this sentiment. It is a temporary solution to a permanent problem, because this not only affects the perpetrator, it also affects the perpetrator's family, because now the family is affected by this. Not only the community, but also the family. So in general, for me, mob justice is not the way. We should have trust in our legal system. The legal system should also do us justice, should also not drag their feet. They should also give us a timely communication and all that. So yeah, that is my take. Let's go to Kelly Jones, and then we're going to close off.
Thank you. For me, at this particular time, I would love to ask a question. And the question is, what happens in communities where the law enforcers aren't doing their job? They are so corrupt that the society, for a particular or for such a reason, they have to rely on themselves to deliver the justice. Because we're having rapists, go free. We're having murderers going free without proper justice. So I think when we're debating such matters, we should also look at the other part. So that's the question for me. I think I would love to just hear your thoughts on how we can handle that particular matter. How can we handle a matter where the forces aren't doing their job?
Okay. Good question there. Let's give a brief sentence, a one sentence answer if we can. We are running out of time, so let's just give one answer to that question. Anyone would like to give their thoughts? Okay, so yeah, let's think about the question Kelly has given us. What happened? Can you please repeat the question, please? Hello, Kelly. Okay, so guys,
Hello, can you
let's
hear me?
think about, yes,
I hope you
I
can
was
hear me
saying,
right
please
now.
repeat the
About
question. Yes, we can hear you.
so the question is, what happens in a community where the law enforcers job and perpetrators are free without proper justice being enacted upon them, whereby a community relies on the justice that itself has to deliver? What happens then?
Mm, okay, so yeah, guys, you have the question. So yeah, let's really think about this question and answer ourselves this. Why would someone do that? Like, why would these perpetrators not have a fair trial? So yeah, okay, we have come to the end of the discussion. So this has been a really insightful discussion and debate on this very sensitive but very important topic. So please, guys, don't be afraid to talk about this this topic on the groups. This is a very important thing that should be talked about. Very important, because this happens in our communities. We see it on the news and we just wonder, why is that the case? So thank you all so much for your insight and your perspectives on this debate.